Well, my dear friends, a full day and a half has passed since the extremely divisive episode 3 of The Acolyte, and we already have some more information and some massive news for the 4th episode next Tuesday. There is one character that is central to a few plot points going forward, and I'd like to point your attention to a couple of moments from the 3rd episode that recontextualizes how you see the series as a totality. There are a few things that are going to come back to be very significant, and they seem to revolve around the Witch Coven mother Koril, not Mother Anastasia. And as you're going to see, my dear friends, we have some new comments from Leslye Headland, who has said, "Hold your horses, whatever you thought the 3rd episode was, it's not." And this makes me think the theory about this episode having been from the perspective of Osha and not the entire truth could very well be the case. I think we need to see both perspectives. Not to mention, I don't think it's the fire that killed the Witch Coven, but the Jedi, or something else was going on, something which made Torbin and Kalnaka exile themselves. So, where to begin? Mother Koril, the Zabrak, the one who was part of the creation of the twins, and who says she carried them. If you rewatch the episode, you'll notice she is jealous of the love and affection Mother Anastasia has towards her kids, and vice versa. They seem to prefer Anastasia, which is Jodie Turner-Smith's character, to her, and a few fans have pointed out, we never see Koril's body at the end, and some have speculated maybe the mother turned to the dark side. Some say she is the helmeted Sith. I still think it's Chimera, and there are a few things that do point towards that, but I wouldn't discount the Witch Coven mother Koril. There is more to her character, and I do think she is very sinister. Leslye Headland seems to have pointed towards something like this in a brand new interview. I can already see the headlines saying this is damage control, and they want to kind of recontextualize the place of this episode in the overall story, because a lot of fans jump to conclusions, and I did have a lot of gripes with it myself. But Leslye is saying, hold your horses, there is more to the flashback episode than you think. As we know, we can't trust the perspective the show is giving us at various points, and this seems to be one of them. So jumping forward to the meat and potatoes, she said this, "You need to keep watching the show." When it comes to Anastasia's comments that she, quote, created the twins, Headland did not say much, but it is going to be explored. She says, "I would say there isn't one answer to it. Some characters believe certain things, and other characters that you saw believe other things in terms of what she meant. So you're going to have to watch and decide which side of that argument you're on." Now let's say the helmeted Sith is Koril. Another bit of evidence pointing towards some kind of dark side involvement beyond what happened on Brendok is the fact she was someone who noticed something was wrong with the reactor at the heart of their coven and didn't say anything. She was also the most confrontational member of the group, and I do think Mother Koril is the one character who we're going to see examined in a very different light. I know Mae is the one who supposedly started the fire, but there was more to it. The Jedi definitely have a responsibility in this. There is definitely blame on their end. But as I say, don't discount the second Witch Coven mother. Koril was already skeptical of the Jedi, and so if they slaughtered her fellow witches and she survived, there could be another revenge mission at play, separate to Mae's own quest. And Leslye Headland tells Entertainment Weekly a lot of conversations were had surrounding the Witch Coven with Jodie Turner-Smith. Quote, "Perhaps too much time. We were in my trailer talking for way too long," she said. So I think this piece came out at the right time to tell fans, be patient, there's more to come. You don't have the full picture because the 4th episode is said to have quite a few surprises, and not just on the controversy front. And so here's where we get our speculation hats and take a look at some of the rumours. I think the 4th episode is when Mae and Chimera go to Kofar, the planet Kalnaka is on, attempting to find the Wookiee Jedi. There is at least one more flashback episode coming, but apparently it's not this next one. And I reckon by the end of the 4th episode, that is when we're going to see the Sith, the helmeted Sith. The whole Torbin thing is still such a mystery. What did the Jedi really do? What scarred Torbin for life? Made him age so quickly, take a brash vow, isolate himself, feel guilty and then take the poison when presented with it by Mae? And also, what is the deal with the fight between him and Kalnaka? In Mae's recollection, or whatever second version of events we're going to see, does Koril possess Kalnaka to attack Torbin? Does she turn the Jedi against themselves using witch magic? This episode leaves open so many questions, and I think we're going to have to wait a little bit to get answers. But this next episode, if the rumours and the speculation are to be believed, concerns Kalnaka in the present day. As I said, I do think Chimera wholeheartedly is the helmeted Sith. But if there is even a doubt, I would say Mother Koril has become a strong second place contender. And you know, we don't even have to take Leslye Headland's word for it, because a crazy detail hidden at the end of the most recent episode is you can see something went down between Torbin and Kelnaka, because look in the background of this shot, look at Torbin's left eye. The fight has already taken place. So already in the first 3 episodes, we're being told we haven't seen the full story. Going back and forth between the present day and flashbacks will do wonders for a full season rewatch. I saw yesterday, not just in our comment section, but across Star Wars social media, a lot of the Disney Plus shows have been structured as 8 small parts of a larger movie, instead of the serial kind of feel that The Mandalorian has. And it's why I'm still giving the rest of this season a chance. I didn't vibe so well with the first episode. Episode 3 is kind of a question mark because I'm not sure how the alternate flashback is going to change our perception, and then we look back at this and say, oh okay, I see what this is doing. And you know, in my breakdown I spoke about my frustration with the way whatever the witches are doing are kind of stepping on the toes of what Plagueis would later go on to do. The only difference being they succeeded and Plagueis didn't. No matter which way you look at how Anakin came about, sure, if you want to take the Plagueis meddling with the Force and the Force responds kind of position, it's still not directly Plagueis who caused it. But another cool theory is that maybe Tenebrous, because Plagueis is too young at this point, is behind how the witches conducted their experiment. The implications on canon could be massive, and I don't even know if Leslye Headland and the other creatives even thought of this possibility, but if they did, that could definitely be a way it ties in. I'm not going to get my hopes up for this though, because we might be very disappointed if it just turns out this is the way the show was written and there was no consideration for either Tenebrous or Plagueis, but just a thought. And while some outlets like Forbes saw devastation in this most recent episode, and that was a pretty hilarious review, some are seeing this as a new opening for Star Wars. Gizmodo say, The Acolyte just blew Star Wars wide open from a certain point of view. I've got my doubts, but I'm always hoping for the best with Star Wars stories, and we're only episode 3 out of 8, so maybe. As I say, on the other hand, Forbes had a pretty dramatic review, but definitely entertaining whether you agree with this or not. I've been trying to have a bit of fun with them and just see them as light-hearted. At the end of the day, we know fans are having a multitude of opinions, and I thought let's just finish with a bit of fun. And this comes from Forbes.com. Their review of The Acolyte episode 3 is absolutely hilarious. And keeping in line with some of the other comments they've made, as you can imagine they didn't like this one. They say The Acolyte episode 3 review, one of the most disappointing Star Wars episodes ever made. Let's see what they said. The 3rd episode of Disney's The Acolyte is an embarrassment to the entire franchise, though the same could be said for so much of Star Wars these days outside of Andor and the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Okay, so here's the funny bit. And look, as I say, it's just funny. It took me aback, I didn't expect it. They say, here's one exchange between 2 characters in this latest episode. So Mae says, the Jedi are bad. Osha responds, the Jedi are good. Later, the same 2 characters, the twin protagonist-antagonists of the story, as children in this flashback episode say to one another, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? And this is the killer. Forbes say, I want to ask Disney the same question. What have you done? I didn't expect that. I thought they were actually going somewhere with this. I got really deep into it and I was thinking, oh, are they going to, analyze this? They're going to break it down in some really deep way. And then they're like, no, I'm going to ask you, Disney, what have you done? They say this entire episode is a bad joke. We learn that Mae and Osha lived with their mothers in a society of witches. It appears they were conceived using the Force, or something. Force-using witches are also apparently frowned upon in this galaxy. They called the Force the Thread. I'm getting dark side vibes here, though I'm also getting the sense that this show will try to be all edgy and make the Jedi out to be the bad guys. I don't know why they're speculating this is literally what Leslye Headland said, which we've seen play out about half a dozen times at this point. Osha and Mae fight with one another constantly and are very, very irritating throughout the episode. I think that's a little bit harsh, but I do admit the dialogue is very questionable, and the chemistry wasn't really there. The adult version, Amanda Stenberg, I think was fantastic. And again, skipping ahead to a very funny part of this, they comment on IGN's review saying this was tantalizing. And Forbes very sassily says, "I would like to know if we use different versions of the word tantalizing." They also make a good point of not knowing the motivations at this stage, and as I said in my review, guys, it's because we're getting one episode a week, apart from the premiere, so we don't know the full picture and it's very hard to judge how it's all going to play out. The episode had a lot of flaws, and maybe this is me just being optimistic, but maybe they're going to find a way to make it work, bring it full circle, show us a different perspective, the true perspective. So just a bit of fun, but I want to know what you guys think. Share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. Check out my full breakdown review. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.